Hello and welcome to a solved example on construction scheduling on cash flow projections. Some of you have had some questions about this problem, so let me go ahead and explain how it should be solved. It's quite simple. So what we have here initially is our network. It shows the durations of the activities with lags and overlaps and so on and so forth. And then we are given some information about each activity. So we are given this table showing first of all that we have a markup of 20%. We have a retainage of 10%, and we have a 10% advance payment. The review period is 1 month, and cost is distributed uniformly over the activity duration. All costs are assumed to be spent following the early dates. What does each one of these lines mean? First of all, we have to understand how the pricing is being done, and you may have learned about that in your estimating class. But basically, we first calculate our costs. We estimate our costs, which are going to include direct costs and indirect costs as well. And that's going to be how much it's going to cost us to build the project or to do the activities for the project. And then we add something to this cost, which is what we call the markup. The markup is the difference between the price that you're going to be charging the client and the cost, your actual cost or your estimated cost for the activity. So here we have the markup is 20%. The markup components include site overheads, head office overheads, cost of finance, permits, insurance, surety, premiums, risk contingency, and last but not least, your profit. So all of that forms 20% that's added to your cost to get your price. So what we have here on this slide, we have the price for the different activities. Therefore, by dividing that by 1.2 or multiplying by 0.8, we can get the cost for each activity. And now we have also here at the top, we have durations for the different activities. And this duration, we are going to assume that it is in months. Therefore, in order to get the duration of the activity per month, we're going to divide the total cost by the cost per month. So here, for example, is a very simple example on what we did here. This cost, which is 80% of the price, and then we divided the cost by the duration to get the cost per month. We already have the duration in the table. Therefore, what we have to start with here is we have to solve this network. And all we need about this network, we don't really need to solve the whole network, we need to just solve for the forward pass of this network. So let's start doing that. And here's my color, although it's Kentucky's out of the NCAA, but we're still going to select Kentucky blue. So we start with 0, with 3, so here we have 3. We're going to transfer 3 plus 4 is 7. Here we have finish to finish. So we're going to take the 3 plus 5, which is 8, minus 4 is 4, and then here we're going to have 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Here we have 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 6 is 12, and then here we have 8, plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 1 is 12. Here we have 11 and 12, we're going to take the 12, plus 2 is 14, 12 and 14, we're going to take the 14, plus 14 is 18. So what we're saying here is that the project is going to take 18 months to be complete. We assume that all the activities are going to be done as early as possible. So that was one of the assumptions here. All costs are assumed to be spent following the early dates. So I'm not interested in the backward pass. I'm not interested in the critical activities, at least for the time being. So all I need to do is just develop a table. First of all, let's try to fill this table. So this is going to be equal to this number times 0.8 And same thing here, we're going to copy this formula. So I'm going to copy this to the other cells. And then I'm going to calculate the cost per month. I'm going to divide this number by the duration of the activity. So I've done it here. Let's copy these numbers from here. So basically what we're saying is that this is equal to this divided by this, and then we're going to copy this formula to the other cells. As you can see, we're automating our calculations. We're doing it very quickly. So basically that's the cost distribution per month. So activity A for 4 months is going to spend $640 a month, activity B $320, and so on and so forth. What we're going to do next, we're going to draw a table, or we're going to draw actually a bar chart. So something like that. And we're going to start, we can actually extend this line to have 18 cells. Okay, and then we're going to start plotting our activities. So activity A is going to start on 0 and end on 3. So it has a duration of 3 cells. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to highlight that like this. Activity B is going to start after activity A from 3 to 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's activity B. C is going to be from 4 to 8. So activity C is going to start here, 4 to 8. Activity D from 9 to 11. So here is D, 9, 10, 11. Actually it's just 2. So from 9 to 11. Activity E from 6 to 12. Let's number these columns. So here we have 1, 2, 3, or actually let's start with 0, 0, 1, 2, and we can copy copy these numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See what I'm saying? I'm just drawing a very simple bar chart based on the calculations that we had here at the top. So activity E is going to be from 6 to 12. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Activity F is going to be, so this is going to be A, B, C, D, E. F is from 8 to 11. That's F. G is going to be 12 to 14. G, 12 to 14. H, 11 to 12. And then I, 14 to 18. And that's I. Okay, so here's my bar chart. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a table underneath this bar chart, and I'm going to plot in the numbers for the different activities. So I'm going to draw a table like that. Okay, so activity A for the first 3 months, 640. So here's A. I'm gonna copy these to extend that. D, E, F, and activity A, 640, 640, and 640. You can see now it aligns with the start and finish of the activity. Activity B, 320s. So from here we're going to have 320. C is going to start from here, and it's going to be 160s. D is going to start from here, and it's going to be 560s. E starting here and 320. I'm gonna copy that to the end of E. Activity F also 320. G 360. H 480, and then I 160. These numbers can be in the thousands, by the way, so just to have large numbers. The next step is to calculate the totals. So total expenditure, I'm just going to add the numbers. So this is going to be the sum of the column above it, like that. And I'm going to copy that across. So now it's showing me on each day how much is spent. As you can see, we can actually plot these into a graph to show our resource histogram. So insert graph like that. Here it shows basically my expenditure for each month, and it shows that months 10 and 11 are going to have the largest expenditures, and so on. That's based on these numbers. The next step is to calculate the cumulative number, cumulative expenditure. So by the end of the first month I spent 640. During the second month I spent 640, so by the end of the second month I spent a total of 640 plus 640, so that's 1280. So I'm going to do that math here. I'm going to say in the cell this is equal to this plus this. Okay? And here this is going to be equal to only this. Now for this third cell, that's going to be equal to this plus this, and I'm going to copy that to the rest of the cells. So that basically shows me, again, if I want to draw a graph of that, I'm going to insert a graph. This time I'm going to make it a line. That's my S-curve for the expenditure. It shows the expenditure growing with time, the total expenditure growing with time. See how simple it is to do it in Excel? It's very simple. I can increase the size of this chart, by the way, if I want to. Something like that. Next, so basically what I've done so far, when I add these costs here, that gave me 9,680, which is the number that I have here, 9,680. So this is my total expenditure. This is my total cash out. Now, the review period is 1 month, which means I'm going to submit, now I'm going to put the billings. Billings means I'm going to bill based on the price. So I can have another column here, or a few columns. I'm going to add 3 or 4 columns. And I'm going to call this one billing. So what is billing? You're going to bill the client for the price and not for the cost. So we're talking about monthly billing. So in this case, the monthly billing is not going to be, so the billing is going to be per month for activity A is going to be the total price. This is going to be equal to total price divided by the duration. And let's copy that to all the other ones. So that's the price per month for each activity, which is basically the total price divided by the duration. So at the end of the first month, I'm going to bill the client for $800. Okay, so the billing is going to be here, 800, and so on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply these numbers times 1.2, or actually I'm going to divide it, instead of multiplying by 1.2, I'm going to divide by 0.8 to avoid the approximation. So here, and I'm going to copy that to all the other ones. So now if I want to have the cumulative billing, I'm just going to do this. This is equal to this plus this, and then this is going to be equal to this plus this, and I'm going to copy that across. And there you have your cumulative billing. So if I add these numbers, need to extend that for one more cell. So that should add up to the total that we have here. Which is 12,100. Notice that the billing is delayed 1 month from the cost, and the receivables are going to be delayed another month. So you bill at the end of the month and you get your money 1 month later. I hope you're following so far. You spend the 640 in the first month, you're going to send the payment request to the owner at the end of the first month for 800, but you're going to receive it by the end of the second month because it's moved 1 month later. So now we are not going to draw an S curve for the receivables, because the receivables, as we have learned from the lecture, are going to be like a staggered line, something like this. And so on. The numbers are not drawn to scale, but you get the idea. It's going to be a stepped curve, so we can develop that stepped curve as well. Now, the difference between your cumulative expenditure and your cumulative billings, this is expenditure, this is billings, that difference is going to be your negative cash flow. So basically, to calculate the cash flow here, but wait a second, we said here that this is the billing, but what are the receivables? We have here that there's a 10% retainage, so you are gonna bill the owner based on the price, but the owner is gonna give you only 90% of that because they're gonna hold 10% until the end of the warranty period. So what your receivables are gonna be basically 90% of that. So this is billings, this is cumulative billing, and this is going to be cumulative receivables. Okay, so the cumulative receivables are going to be equal to this times 0.9, 90% of the billings, and we're going to copy that right across, something like this. So now we can actually draw a graph that's going to show the difference between your cost, your cumulative expenditure, this is cumulative expenditure, which is money going out of your pocket, and your cumulative receivables, which is the money that you're getting from the client. So we're going to select this and this, and we're going to draw a graph. Let's just do the math first, make it simple. So this is equal to cumulative receivables minus cumulative expenditures, and let's just draw that across. and we're going to draw a graph, a histogram showing these numbers. So that shows your net cash flow. So what we're saying here is that you are going to have a negative cash flow until pretty much month 12. That's where you're going to start having money received exceeding the money that was spent. So all of that is going to be in the red, and that's going to be in the black. Forget about the advance payment. We're not going to discuss it this time. So basically, we assume that the cost is uniformly distributed. So if the cost of the activity is 1920 divided by 3, so it's going to be 640 for each month, and so on. That's what's meant by uniformly distributed. All costs are assumed to be spent following the early dates. So as soon based on these early dates, that's why you did not need to calculate the late dates for the project. So that's how you develop a cash flow, knowing how much money do you need to spend or do you need to have in your safe every month. So obviously the largest deficit is going to be that 1280. If you do not have 1280 in your safe, then you cannot complete this project. That's basically a quick review on the assignment. So I hope you are going to be able to develop that assignment on your own. Try to duplicate these steps and try to think about it in the same way. You can practice with other problems by changing these numbers and trying to draw the cash flow and so on and so forth. So we're going to discuss that in class, but I prefer to put that on Integrity so that you can view it at your own time. See you in class.